Suking Prose. After Wang Ma left, less than a year after Wang Ma left, our little family had changed beyond recognition. She left for her hometown on the 3rd day of September last year. That day happened to be Sunday. And my husband, Jian, was also at home. In addition, there is a 3-year-old daughter, Lingling, who sleeps with Wang Ma. We usually don't like Queen Mother very much because she does things willfully and doesn't take us seriously. But we feel happy when we are together with her. We don't need to worry about home when we are running around. No. Well, it's bad. I haven't been to a movie theater for 7 or 8 months. It was in the afternoon when she left. I remember clearly that after she went out, we checked the things in the house. It's not that we are afraid that she will bring something with her. It's actually that we usually give everything to her, but we don't know where to put it. While we were arranging things, we talked about the good things about Wang Ma and forgot about her willful temper in the past. The more we talked, the sadder we became, and we couldn't help but burst into tears from our eyes. Lingling didn't understand what we meant and kept making noises in the middle. Later, we ourselves were exhausted, so we suggested that we go out to a restaurant for dinner first, and we could tidy up when we came back in the evening. So everyone changed clothes and washed their faces. After being busy for a while, he let things pile up in the front and back rooms, slammed the door, and went out. Along the way, Lingling clamored for me to hug her. Jian said that the tram was very crowded, so Lingling should be held by her father. When Lingling refused, I was annoyed, so Jian hugged her over. Her cries and hatred could not be heard, and Jian's brows were also furrowed. This was the first time he frowned at me since we got married. Although I didn't say anything, I was very angry in my heart. When we entered the restaurant, Jian said he wanted to drink a few kilograms of old wine to relieve his boredom, but I remained silent. He asked me what I wanted to eat, and I told him to order whatever he wanted. What he ordered was food to go with wine. I don't drink, and I don't like eating that kind of thing. Lingling shouted that she wanted this or that, but we tried to coax and scare her to no avail, so we had to give her a little of each. With a cup in hand, I didn't care about anything, but I hurriedly finished my meal and waited for him with Lingling in my arms. The longer I waited, the more impatient I became. Finally, they waited until he finished drinking and came out together. On the way, he remembered that Lingling had never eaten porridge, so he bought her a piece of bread in Guancheng Garden. After getting on the tram, Jian said that he drank too much and didn't have enough to eat, and regretted not buying more bread from Guancheng Yuan. I also feel empty in my stomach. After all, eating out is not as delicious as at home. Let's go home and order 2 orders of shrimp noodles. But as soon as I entered the door and saw the messy situation everywhere, I felt troubled. Lingling didn't wait for us to finish unpacking and immediately started clamoring to sleep. So Jian moved the things on the bed to the table randomly and asked me to sleep next to Lingling while he opened the door and went out to call for shrimp noodles. Lingling didn't want me to cuddle with her at first, so she cried and called Mama Wang. Later, his eyes finally became hazy, as if he was about to fall asleep, but Jian led the waiter running up the stairs shouting. Lingling woke them up and wanted to eat noodles again, so he helped her get dressed, sent the waiter back, and moved the things on the table away again. After going on like this for more than half an hour, Lingling finally fell asleep due to exhaustion. I said we should wait a moment to wash our faces and just put everything in order. Jian didn't answer. He just picked up a cigarette and lay on the sofa. After a long while, he stretched and said there was no need to be impatient, and he would sort things out slowly tomorrow. I said he was lazy. You are going to the scriptorium tomorrow. Don't you have to clean up all these things by me? He said that's it. Let's pile all the things in the back room for now. Early tomorrow morning, you can go to the recommendation shop and call your aunt and ask her to take her time to sort it out in the second half of the day. I was speechless all night. My arms and legs ached. The next day I called Qing Jian and told him to take care of Lingling at home, and I went out to find a recommended shop. There were many recommended restaurants near the market, so I picked the largest one and went in. Are you calling me Nianjij? A thin and long-faced waiter came up to ask. I nodded. Are you going to cook some food? Of course, I said. Do you want to do some laundry? I nodded again. What about mopping the floor and tidying up the room? I told him that we only use one aunt to do all the cooking, laundry, mopping the floor, and tidying up the room. "Oh, I have to do it in one go." The thin man with a long face understood, then turned around and asked a middle-aged maid, "Are you going to try it?" The maid shook her head. She wanted to specialize in the room. The waiter then asked several people, old and young, but most of them were reluctant. I felt infinitely humiliated and angry, so he no longer cared about the soreness of his legs and feet, and turned around angrily to pick it up elsewhere. A man who looked like a boss came out to stop me. He said, "Don't be impatient. There are a lot of Andes." The family shouted to the corner of the house, "Run out. Go back and try with a young lady." A woman who looked like a country lady. He stumbled out from the corner. His eyes were dull, and his hair was in a big braid. The boss pointed at her and introduced me. "My eldest sister is very nice. She just came out of the country. She is an honest person and doesn't spend much money." So I took her home and tried it out. After one day of trying it, I realized that the eldest sister was indeed quite nice and had no troubles. She just couldn't do one thing. The briquette stove can't light a fire, and the iron pot can't cook food. They country people are used to using big stoves and big pots. I had to do everything for her. Even when she went to the toilet, I had to follow her and pull the toilet for her. I was exhausted from the day. I did it for her and taught her. No matter how much you talked about it, your lips were dry and your tongue was burnt. But she was still the holy essence, is still the same as before and could not learn anything. After Jian came back in the evening, he suggested that he go to the restaurant as usual and eat Western food this time, so that Ling Ling would not have to buy additional bread. As for the eldest sister who called me, I had already sent her back to the recommended shop before departure because she didn't know the route. Jian said, "The recommended shop is the most snobbish. I saw your young mistress coming to pick it up in person. I know that this mansion is not luxurious, so I don't want to come. I'd better ask the waiter in the company to fetch someone for you tomorrow." I think this sentence makes sense. Tomorrow at 11 o'clock. The waiter will indeed bring a strange and clever maid in her 30s to accompany me. As soon as the maid came in, she felt as if she had lived in my house for 10 years. She could find everything and bring out decent bowls of food. Jian was having lunch out. In order to please the new maid, I gave her all the braised beef and herring water that I wanted to leave for him to eat in the evening. This didn't feel right in my conscience. I live with my husband, but good maids are rare. I can't let her get discouraged and run away on the first day. I have to buy her favor with delicious food and win her over with my pleasant appearance. After dinner, she came in to boil water and wrung her handkerchief very attentively. I felt that the beef and herring was not in vain. I was so tired from the past 2 days that I needed a rest, so I took off my clothes and prepared for a nap. Suddenly, the aunt opened the door and came in again, calling out, "Ma'am." I quickly cheered up, put on a smile, and listened to her quietly. She said, "I have to go. I'm sorry. You're going. Where are you going?" I was like a thunderbolt on a sunny day. The recommended shop. She smiled calmly and didn't take my embarrassment to heart. It's over. Everything is over. It turned out that beef and herring could never buy her favor, and my pleasant appearance could not keep her body. I felt humiliated and extremely disappointed. My lips trembled, and I wanted to ask her, "Why don't you want to do it?" But my pride kept me silent, so I had to pretend to be indifferent and let her go. After that, I went to the recommendation shop several times, and the waiter also worked for us several times. The old one, the young one, the smart one, the stupid one, the beautiful one, the ugly one, the clean one, the dirty one, the honest one, and the fierce one. Yes, I have seen all kinds of maids, which has broadened my knowledge a lot. In the end, we had sorted out the debris piled up in the back room, and were able to make fire, cook, etc. So we thought we might as well not use aunties. Not having an aunt is even more inconvenient. First, I have to get up early in the morning to buy side dishes, and Jian has to delay office hours to look after Ling Ling for me. Secondly, when customers come, I can't go out to buy cigarettes or make snacks. I can't order goods on the phone and have them delivered on time. Third, change your clothes and send them to the laundry. It won't cost you much, and it's too inconvenient for you. Fourth, you have to worry about the stove going out when you go out and returning in a hurry after not having enough fun. Fifth, Ling Ling is really suffering. She was originally the central figure in the family, but now she has become the target of her anger. 6th, the couple quarreled from time to time and went to restaurants to have snacks from time to time. So within half a month we changed our original intention and decided to continue looking for a maid. Jian said, under heavy rewards. There must be brave men. We are going to pay a lot of wages, so we must find a good aunt. So we found Zhou Mai. Zhou's mother is really good at doing things, but somehow we always feel that we can't entrust everything to her. We don't worry about leaving her to look after the house when we both go out, and we don't worry about leaving her alone to look after Ling Ling. But although we are worried about her, we can't show any worry at all, because we can't let her run away in a fit of anger. We were quite careful with her. For her sake, we didn't dare to get up too early, eat too late, buy a few less side dishes, not hold back our headaches, and invite relatives and friends to come over to play cards with us, or tell the story of the beef and tomato soup she served. It smells like cockroach excrement. Our patience is really amazing. If a son can tolerate his father like this, he is a filial son. If a woman can tolerate her husband like this, she is a virtuous wife. Although Jianhe and I were not always filial sons and virtuous wives, today we are Zhou Ma's obedient master and housewife. Ever since we were able to guide Zhou Ma, although we had been very committed and fearful of flattering her, she still had to leave us after 3 months. Because one day Jian accidentally settled accounts and found that the amount of income was more than 3 times more than before. That's because everything has been hoarded, he explained to me as he closed his account book. I thought about it carefully and realized that the price of rice has increased from 70 to 80 yuan to 120 to 30 yuan, and the price of briquettes has increased from 67 yuan to 156 yuan per quintal. Of course, the hoarders must be blamed, but in March, with the number of lunar eclipse rice has increased from 6 to 9, and the number of lunar briquettes has increased from 2 to 3.5. Who should be responsible? Moreover, after an inspection of other items, many of them were missing. Handkerchiefs, socks, pens, watches, and even only 1.5 sets of silk shirts and pants were left. When we accidentally said something, Zhou Ma thought she was a gambling god, the one who punished and cursed, screamed in aggrievedness, and then started to cry loudly. He scolded the one who had wronged others and said he would not die well. After cursing, he left with a straight face. We took a breather, but then we started to get busy again. Jian sometimes talks to others and often sighs and says, "It is best to marry a wife who can manage a household." Although I felt ashamed after hearing this, I was mostly angry after all. I often resent and hate that society is progressing too slowly and that public canteens, nurseries, etc. have not been established so far, causing us who are not good at managing our families to suffer a lot and waste our energy so much that it is not worth it. But sometimes I do regret that I did not read a few Shakespeare plays, and that common sense, such as washing and cooking, is more important than Prince Hamd. I dare say that since Mother Wang left, we have not been able to work or study with peace of mind for a day. The instability in life is not only caused by airplanes and cannons.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.